You could say we're living in unprecedented times. Global upheaval, banks running out of money, countries are even going bankrupt, on top of the natural disasters. Now, there's a group of people watching this a little bit more closely than the rest of us. They're waiting to see if things go really badly wrong. To prepare for all of this, they're learning to live in the wild, to live in the woods, on the woods. They're called preppers, and I'm here to meet a group of them in Glengarra Wood in County Tipperary. Many preppers prefer to remain anonymous as they are fearful that it will impact negatively upon their families and jobs. However, some were willing to talk to me, including ex-Navy man Frank Deegan. When I arrived, he was overseeing preparations for a lunch of pheasant wrapped in seasonal vegetables.
We're lighting a fire in the hole and we're covering with as flat rocks as possible.
So the fire stays going, the rocks heat up the meat and cook the meat?
Yeah, the rocks keep the heat in and the fire smoulders. We're using what's called a ferrocerium rod and steel, so it's a fire steel basically.
It's like using flint.
It's a flint and it burns up at, let's say, about 3,000 degrees. You can see it's extremely hot.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow. How long does it take the stones to reach high enough temperature to cook the bird?
So the last time we did this, we let the fire go for maybe a half an hour and we kept feeding it ferociously.
Over the last few years, there's been a huge resurgence of interest in bushcraft and survival techniques, thanks in no small part to people like Ray Mears and Bear Grylls. Preppers bring it to another level. Tony McHugh is the leader of this particular group.
If you're a prepper, you're preparing to survive. If you're a bushcrafter, you're bushcrafting to survive in the woods. You know, so survival
covers all of the angles.
You know, a couple of 100 years ago, it was normal living.
Yeah, we're relearning the ways of our ancestors, basically.
So if the unthinkable did happen, how prepared are people like Tony and Frank? How long could you survive living somewhere like this?
I think indefinitely.
Yeah.
We become...
Well, I personally got 3 bug-out spots, 3 different forests with food stored in containers and water stored. Frank would be similar as well. Out of every storage I get 2 to 3 weeks. I could make it 3 weeks, I could make it a month if I was hunting as well, snaring rabbit and that, you know, because if there's any breakdown in society and rioting happens, all the shops are going to be empty in 2 days. If I'm in my bug-out spot, you could walk 10 feet away from me and you won't find me because I'll be camouflaged up. But you generally won't get people coming out to the woods. There's a lot of people afraid of going into the woods, especially at night time. The only equipment we need is our knife. Once we've got our knife, you can survive with your knife.
While the needs of the camp were being tended to, I was shown by Pat Murphy how to prepare a pheasant for the earth oven by skinning instead of plucking.
Just open the breast and just take pull the legs out.
Peel everything back.
Peel everything back. Just pull it right around.
That's much quicker, isn't it? Now, there's not much meat on that. That's not going to feed too many of us, is it?
No.
I hope you have something else. Cooking for lunch.
Wood pigeon as well.
But how likely is it that any of us will need these kinds of survival skills? Or are we being naive in thinking things will always be stable and safe?
I think we'll use our skills in our lifetime. I hope we don't have to, but I think we will because people are getting sick in Ireland. They've been taxed to the blooming hilt and they're taxing you and everything.
So you think as a result of social unrest, more so than natural disaster?
Well, anything. I mean, even if there's an inch of blooming snow on the ground, the country stops.
Yeah, it does.
And the local shops run out of everything.
What would happen to the rest of us then, if the worst thing happened?
You become the hordes.
We wouldn't survive, would we?
No. 72 hours, that's it, you're gone.
Yeah.
Then you start getting really, it's looking after your family.
I'd say after 2 weeks, massive amounts
people
of
will
be
become animalistic in instinct. They'll come back to nature, they'll do what it takes to get food.
Because, I mean, if you have a baby and you have children to feed, and somebody else's food and you haven't, you don't know what it's like to be hungry. No, I don't think anybody knows what it's like to be hungry. But when hunger kicks in, you're going to get food for your children. Be what it may, you have to do.
Now, Frank, here's the one I prepared earlier.
Lovely, thank you very much.
So what are you doing now?
So I'm going to wrap this in cabbage and I'm going to tie it with leeks. Okay. So we're not using any kind of synthetic tin foil or anything like that, so we get the juices. Let's see if I can get a full one.
That's kind of ingenious.
It's a full one here.
So everything you're using will be eaten?
Yeah.
And everything is seasonal?
Yes.
That's an important part of it, isn't it? Obviously, if you're living in the wild.
At the moment, we're in the winter time, so we have to improvise. So that's why we're using leek cabbage. What we normally use is burdock.
Once ready, we put the pheasant into our earth oven, covering it with moss and soil.
How long will that take to cook?
It should take approximately 2 hours. It's a small bird, so 2 hours is more than enough.
Right.
It should be falling off the bone.
Aside from killing and cooking in the wild, what are the most basic survival necessities?
Shelter's the main important thing, to get out of the elements, then fire, then water, and lastly food. You last about 21 days without food, Frank?
Yeah, a bit of reserve there as well.
Yeah, I have myself, so we'll be alright.
Okay. 3 weeks of food, dry goods. Flour is a great one. Tinned food, because if the electric goes out, your fridge freezer is only good for about 3 days and then it's gone. 72 hours. Oh yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Well, that smells, it
Oh,
smells
it
like cabbage
smells
straight
great,
away.
yeah, it smells great.
Okay, folks, dinner is served.
Many people look on survivalists as deluded doomsayers, but Tony and Frank believe that it is they who will be proven right in the end.
That's absolutely beautiful. What would you say then to people who do scoff at what you do?
I just pity them.
Why?
Pity them. Because they're going to die. I've had people scoff at me and I said, hang on, you go home tonight, I said, and your power is off. How are you going to cook? Have you an open fire in the house? Yeah. Do you know how to cook on an open fire? No. Have you a candle in the house? No. You stop them scoffing very quickly.
You know what? That wasn't what I expected at all. I had a great day. I was warm, very well fed, and really well looked after. And you know what? If the worst ever actually does come to pass, one thing is certain. These guys will still be standing.